And I'd like to welcome you all to our Thursday 1:30 p.m. session with Giovanna, and she'll be covering dementia and the different types. So again, thank you so much for joining us today. The WildTech DC Senior Digital Inclusion Program, its owners and presenters offer technical assistance, virtual health wellbeing information designed for educational purposes only. You should not rely on the info in any apps or topics made by WildTech, including but not limited to mobile device applications and any social media pages maintained by WildTech, its owners or presenters as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, treatment, or legal advice. Let's keep our TVs and cell phones in mind, our mics in mind. Let's make sure to take notes, but yeah, you can review this session on our YouTube channel. So again, thank you so much for attending. Giovanna, if you could introduce yourself, your topic. Thank you so much for hosting, and I'll be there to assist as much as I can.
So I'm Giovanna. I'm the Dementia Program Coordinator at the Department of Aging and Community Living, and today we're going to be talking about dementia and the different types. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We can all see my screen.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much, Giovanna.
Yes.
Awesome. Alrighty, so we're going to go ahead and jump right in it. So we're going to be talking about dementia and the different types. I want to preface this by saying there are over 100 different types of dementia. Today, I'm just going to be covering some of the most common types. So as usual, I have a lovely agenda. We're going to go through an icebreaker. We're going to talk about what is dementia, the types of dementia, prevention, diagnosis, and then if there are any additional questions or comments at the end, we can walk through those as well. So for the icebreaker, what do you all know about the types of dementia?
You all can unmute and share. Please unmute yourself and share. This one is, you can unmute yourself and share.
I know that there's vascular dementia and I know there's Alzheimer's.
Those are two types.
Those are the only two types that I can think of right now.
Okay, that's fine. I will take those. Anybody else? What do you know about the types of dementia?
I know about the senile. Senile.
Oh, you know that's what they used to call it back in the day, senile. Okay, I will take that. Anybody else? What do you know about the types of dementia?
I never knew it was that many types.
Okay, you said you didn't know it was that many types?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's over 100 different types of dementia.
I got a lot of to be paying attention to.
That's fair.
Yeah, I know my godmother came down with it, and I was younger, so I didn't really know what to do or anything. You know, and it heck out of me. And I guess I definitely need to learn about it so I don't repeat history.
Right.
And I have some idea what to do and, you know, what not to do, what I can do, and what can be done.
Right.
I didn't do anything.
Yeah, and we'll definitely talk about that today.
Okay.
Anyone else before we go? You're welcome. Anyone else before we go to the next icebreaker question? Alrighty. Let me double check, make sure I'm not missing anybody. Okay. So the next question is, what about dementia scares you, makes you uncomfortable, or causes anxiety?
When they start wandering.
Wandering, yes. Wandering.
That's very scary.
Wandering can be very scary. Yes.
And forgetting that you got something on the stove.
Yes.
Forgetting you have something on the stove. So possibility of burning themselves or burning the house. That can be very scary as well.
Do they talk to themselves?
Say that one more time for me.
Do they talk to themselves?
Talking to themselves. Okay.
Yeah, like somebody's in the room.
Okay. That could possibly be a hallucination or a delusion.
Yeah. Because my sister talks to herself a lot, and nobody's in the room.
They
That
get
can happen.
scared and don't know how to make it back home.
Yeah, excuse me.
Wandering.
I talk to myself all the time, and sometimes I ask myself too, but I don't have dementia.
Yeah, that's what my mother used to tell me.
And I'm pushing 70.
Yeah. Me too.
So,
And my mother said, if you
that's necessarily true.
don't ask yourself, you're doing good.
Okay, well, I'm doing good then.
Okay.
So sometimes your answer self is okay too. That's the best answer. But anyway,
What she say?
I'm uncomfortable with them when they become combative.
Combative, yes.
That's true.
And
Yeah,
when
so
they
that's a behavior.
and when they cannot recognize their own family members.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
That's bad.
That does happen. Yes. Okay, so we're going to actually talk about all of that.
Wow.
So, dementia, what is it? So, dementia is often referred to as an umbrella term, and it's often used that way because it's going to describe various conditions that cause decline in overall thinking, your cognition and your memory, as well as your mood and your behaviors. So, when you're looking at dementia, it's important to note that it can range from mild to severe, and it is a progressive disease because it does progress over time. But it's also important to note that symptoms and progression really depends on the type of dementia that a person has, as well as the areas of the brain that are impacted.
Wow.
So the types of dementia that we're going to cover today, we're going to go through Alzheimer's, vascular, dementia with Lewy body, frontal temporal dementia, and mixed dementia. These are your more common types, but like I said before, it's over 100 different types of dementia. So when we're looking at Alzheimer's, Alzheimer's is a progressive disorder that is going to impact an individual's overall thinking, memory, and behavior. So over time, as it progresses, you're going to start to notice that symptoms will begin to worsen, as well as they'll begin to impact how a person functions throughout their daily living. So you'll notice their activities of daily living will change, as well as their overall functionality is going to change. So when we're looking at Alzheimer's, because this one is the most common type of dementia, and this is the one that typically everyone hears about or knows about, Alzheimer's accounts for 60 to 80% of dementia cases. And a lot of times Alzheimer's is often misdiagnosed with the other types of dementia, but I'm going to talk about that as I move along through the program. So when you're looking at dementia and we're looking at Alzheimer's causes, it's important to understand that for Alzheimer's, it's going to occur because there are age-related changes in the brain, as well as it really is just an abnormal buildup of proteins. And if you've ever heard anyone talk about amyloid plaques and tau tangles, that's what we're looking at for Alzheimer's, plaques and tangles. So when you have an abnormal buildup of that protein, we're looking at Alzheimer's. When I say age-related changes.
Okay, take a deep breath.
I heard somebody talking. Okay, so when we're looking at age-related changes, right, we're looking at shrinkage in certain brain regions. This happens as we age. We're also looking at inflammation. We're also looking at blood vessel damage and overall decreased energy production across your cells in the brain. That happens as we age. So when we're looking at risk factors for Alzheimer's, we're looking at one that we can't change, which is age, as well as family history. You can't change that, and you also can't change genetics. Alzheimer's does have a genetic component. So we're looking at the APO gene. Okay, so when you're looking at the APO gene, this gene is what is involved in the overall process of making a protein to help carry cholesterol and other types of fat throughout your bloodstream. So that is the gene that they're looking at when they are assessing for Alzheimer's, as well as some other genes that I have listed up on the screen.
So is everybody like it won't pass a generation and get any Alzheimer's?
So you're looking at family history and you're looking at genetics, but not everybody is going to have that one genetic component.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So when you're looking at Alzheimer's, we want to keep in mind about lifestyle factors because that also goes in line with your risk factors as well, right? So we're looking at if you have unmanaged chronic health conditions such as diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, heart disease, right? That increases your risk of developing Alzheimer's. We're also looking at lack of physical activity. So if you're not really moving your body and you're not exercising like you used to, that increases your risk, as well as an unhealthy diet, heavy alcohol consumption, if you are a heavy smoker, and sleep. Sleep is a big one. How many of us get enough sleep?
I do.
Right through.
How many of us get good quality sleep?
Nope.
I do most.
I do.
I do.
That's good. But some people aren't that lucky, right? Because you may have disrupted sleep or you have broken sleep patterns. But sleep is a really big risk factor when we're looking at Alzheimer's as well as other types of dementia. Because you got to think about it. When you're sleeping, you're allowing your brain the opportunity to reset, recharge, and heal from everything that's happening during the day. Social isolation is also another huge risk factor. So when you're looking at age of diagnosis for Alzheimer's, we're looking at mid-60s and older. However, Alzheimer's does have a early onset component. So individuals who are diagnosed before the age of 65 are considered to be early onset. So this can happen as early as your mid-30s or your early 60s. So for Alzheimer's, the signs and symptoms we want to kind of look out for, we're looking at memory loss that is going to impact your overall daily functioning. So if you have, memory losses, memory lapses here and there. So like, let's say you walk into a room. How many of you have walked into a room and forgot why you walked in that room?
Me.
But then immediately after, you remember why you walked in that room, right?
Exactly.
Right.
That happens. Or if you have glasses, because I do this.
Oh, please.
For my fellow glasses wearers, we will look for our glasses, and the glasses will be on top of our head or on our face or on our shirt.
In the room, and you know what you go in that room for. But you
exactly.
Forget. You forget, and then you say, "What did I come in here for?"
No.
And
then you look at it, look at the thing you came looking for, and you get it. You say, "Oh, I know what I came for."
Exactly, right? That's occasional forgetting, and that's normal to the aging process. That's normal and that's natural. That happens. So when you're looking at Alzheimer's, we're looking at when those occasional lapses are now becoming consistent lapses, and it's impacting how you function every day because it's disrupting how you move throughout life. Okay, so we're looking at poor judgment and confusion, as well as issues with overall problem solving, thinking, and reasoning. So we're looking more so at your finances and your ability to pay bills, because you may have been paying your bills all the time, on time, like clockwork, and all of a sudden now, bills have not been paid in some months.
So you're saying the three things that can help prevent you from getting Alzheimer's is exercising and your more sleep and your eating habits?
So those are prevention. That is something you can do to prevent your risk of developing it. Yes.
And traveling, right? Going outside.
Yes, if you go outside and you're connecting with others, being in nature, that's perfectly fine.
Right.
You're also looking at issues with completing your daily tasks. So a lot of times individuals with Alzheimer's have issues with bathing. Somebody mentioned earlier a behavior which is being combative. You'll notice bathing can be an issue because one, I may not remember that I did not bathe for today, and I may just put on clothes. I also may not necessarily remember how to actually bathe.
Mm.
So it gets to the point where the person, sometimes your family members are going to have to show you, like they may have to physically show you how to put the soap in the washcloth, wet the washcloth, get it soapy and sudsy and put it on your body to cleanse yourself. The other issue with bathing too is you have to think about it. Bathing is a very intimate act. So if you just come up to the person with Alzheimer's and you start taking off all of their clothes to try to bathe them, if I'm already confused, I don't know what's happening, I may be fearful and frustrated with what you're doing, and I may swat at you. So they may look at like, I'm being combative or I'm being aggressive, when in reality, I don't know what's happening. Right? You're also looking at bathing that sometimes water is clear, and because they can't see it, it's an unknown substance, and it can trigger a fear response. As well as if you try to put them in the shower, there's the possibility of falls, which could trigger fear responses, as well as depending on how the shower head is set up, it may be too much pressure with the water coming out, and that could be a sensory issue. So they may say it may hurt, or it might be too hot. It could be too cold. Those are all things that we're looking at with bathing, as well as the individual may sometimes not remember this is hot water and this is cold water, and they could probably burn themselves.
Yep.
So those are all of the issues that can happen when we're looking at bathing. You're also looking at challenges and confusion with place and time. We're looking at changes and challenges with visual images, as well as spatial recognition. So this is going to look like your issues with overall vision, balance, and reading. You may have issues with speaking and or writing, because over time, Alzheimer's will take away your ability to communicate. You're looking at misplacing items and being unable to locate them, even if you try to retrace your steps. And that's when sometimes paranoia may set in. Somebody stole my items. And someone might not have stolen them, and they could just be in a different place that they remember. Right? We're also looking at withdrawal from social settings, changes in overall mood, personality, and behavior. And then, like you all mentioned earlier during the icebreaker, wandering. So wandering is a sign and a symptom of Alzheimer's, but it's also a behavior. So like most behaviors, when we're talking about dementia, behaviors always have a cause and a trigger.
Okay, I have a question pertaining to the withdrawal from social setting.
Yes, ma'am.
How would that have anything to do as far as with having the symptom of having Alzheimer's? And the reason why I'm saying that, because since the COVID, I know there's a lot of people, but some, including myself, still wear masks, but don't be around a lot of people. And that's because to prevent myself from being, catching anything.
Right. And that's fair, right? But when we're looking at withdrawal from social settings, if you're talking about a person that's always active, and they're always involved in stuff, and all of a sudden you don't see Miss Betty. Miss Betty hasn't been at events. Miss Betty hasn't been at the center, or Miss Betty, you haven't seen Miss Betty outside and you're her neighbor, right? Those are things we're talking about when we're looking at withdrawal from social settings. It could be, and I say this all the time, it's a lot of things that mirror and mimic dementia, and it doesn't always have to be dementia or the different types. But you want to look at the nuances and the other symptoms that may go along with what that person is exhibiting.
Well, I say that because that's where I am. I have withdrawn from being around social settings. I don't do all the things that I used to do, like bowling, my activity and going to the center. The basic thing I do really is being on this iPad, because
but that's also still allowing you to be connected socially to others, right? Because a person may be on the Zoom all the time and then all of a sudden they disappear. Because when you're looking at it with withdrawal, you start to recognize that you are going through changes with dementia. You may not be able to really pinpoint what some things are, but you recognize things are different. And with that, there is a level of grief and shame and embarrassment that comes with a diagnosis of dementia. And so to kind of preserve how you are perceived by others, you may withdraw, because you may not really want others to see that you are starting to forget things. or that you're not typically yourself. But for yours, you still
I just feel safe being in the house. I don't
exactly. And that's fair, but you still participate on the Zoom.
Yeah, on
You
Zoom.
haven't fully
That's not dementia.
And the reason why I asked that question, because right now my sister have dementia. And I'm just wondering that her hereditary as far as her having dementia and me doing what I'm doing. I mean, sure, I might forget if I come downstairs, like the simple things, like you say, I come downstairs for some bread and then I go back upstairs and say, oh, I forgot to get the bread and got to go back downstairs.
We all do that.
Yeah. And like I said, that's normal if it's occasional, right? But when it starts to get to the point where it's consistent and it's disrupting how you are functioning, then we got to start looking at things like, what's going on here? What's different?
Is it hereditary?
We're actually about to talk about that.
Oh,
well,
okay.
I'll get through it at the end, but yes, Alzheimer's does have a genetic and hereditary component. Alrighty, so someone mentioned they knew about vascular dementia. That's what we're talking about now. So when you're looking at vascular dementia, we are talking about changes in your thinking as well as memory loss that is happening because there are problems with blood flow in the brain. So when you're looking at vascular dementia, this is the most second common type of dementia. And when we're looking at it, it happens because of strokes. And when we're talking about strokes, we're looking at the ones that block brain arteries as well as your silent strokes or even many TIAs. We're also looking at brain hemorrhages and narrowed, blocked, or damaged brain blood vessels. Those are all the causes when we're looking
of the vascular. Well, you know, I learned about the vascular dementia from you, Giovanna. I thought your dementia and Alzheimer's was the same.
Right.
And when I came to your program, I learned about vascular dementia. And then I found out that the type of dementia my sister has is vascular. I just thought she had, I just thought when they said dementia, I just assumed it was Alzheimer's. But then so I learned from this session with you.
See, and that was helpful with you, right?
It was very helpful. It's very helpful because now she has vascular and I understand.
Awesome. I'm glad that was, that was helpful for you and you had a better understanding of what she's navigating. And now you can help her because you know what she's going through. So when we're looking at vascular dementia, there are 3 types. So we have multi-infarct dementia. So this is going to be when you have a series of mini strokes known as TIAs. So that's what happens after that, as well as subcortical dementia. This is the more common type of vascular dementia. And this is when we're looking at damages to small blood vessels and nerves found in the white matter of the brain. And then you have post-stroke dementia. So this is when you have dementia symptoms, but they're present within 6 months after having a stroke.
It's not like a stroke or anything, right?
What, vascular dementia?
Yeah.
Vascular dementia typically comes in after strokes.
Okay. Okay, that's what I was thinking too. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. So when you're looking at risk factors for vascular dementia, we're looking at age, family history,
right,
as well as health conditions. So when we're thinking about vascular dementia, think about your entire vascular system. So we're talking about diabetes, even though that can go along with the endocrine system. We're looking at diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, heart disease, atherosclerosis, and atrial fibrillation, right? We're also looking at history of strokes, mini strokes, also known as TIAs, and heart attacks. We're looking at if you're a smoker, heavy consumption of alcohol, and obesity. Age of diagnosis typically with vascular dementia is over the age of 65. So for vascular dementia, when we're looking at signs and symptoms, it's important to remember that symptoms are going to vary depending on the area that has the restricted blood flow. So you may notice that the person has confusion or disorientation, as well as difficulty with speech and finding the right words. You may notice they're having difficulty with planning and organizing, as well as following through with their plans, slow thinking, memory issues, depression, restlessness, agitation, challenges with walking. So you'll notice they have an unsteady gait or balance issues, as well as issues with their bladder control. So for vascular dementia, symptoms can appear and will be the most obvious and apparent after a major stroke. However, this also can impact their overall perception and thinking. So that's important to keep in mind, as well as it is important to keep in mind that with vascular dementia, symptoms of this type of dementia can also overlap with Alzheimer's. Okay, so it's important to note that those two can overlap with each other. But when we're looking at vascular dementia, it's also very important to note that with this type, it's going to impact an individual's speed when we're talking about their overall thinking, as well as their problem-solving ability. So with Alzheimer's, you're looking at that strong memory loss component. With vascular dementia, yes, you're looking at memory loss being a symptom, but the key characteristic is going to be thought processing speed, as well as overall problem-solving ability. Does that make sense?
So yeah, you're saying like just like if you used to do your bills and stuff, then your brain gets like slow. You forget how to do it.
So yeah, so like after a stroke, yeah, think about it. After a stroke, a lot of things kind of processes a little differently. So you may move a little slower. You may process things internally in the brain slower. So the thinking speed slows down, as well as your ability to problem solve is going to change typically after a stroke.
Oh, okay. I got that. Okay. Thank you.
You are very welcome.
I have a neighbor. She just celebrated her 99th birthday yesterday, and she's
happy birthday to her!
Blessing.
And she still writes her own bills and write checks. But the only thing that I know with Miss Knight is that sometimes she might ask me the same question over and over. But other than that, everything else she does on her own. I mean,
blessing.
Does everything on her own. So yesterday she celebrated her birthday. And I wrote a poem for her, which I don't have in front of me. But anyway, I was getting ready to read it, and she started reading it. And she doesn't wear eyeglasses or anything while she was reading. I said, Miss Knight, you went to say, Dolores, I can see. She said, and she read that poem on her own.
Great.
And she's the only thing I know is like she might ask me a question like, Dolores, when is your birthday? And then we'll talk. And then she'll say, Dolores, when is your birthday? And I just go ahead and answer. But other than that, she does fantastic on her own as far as, I'm concerned as far as person 99.
That's great.
Yeah, that's good. And that's the thing with dementia, right? It's there's this stereotype that with dementia, every single older person is going to get it. That's not necessarily true. You have individuals who are in their 90s, they're even in their 100s, and they have no signs of dementia. You have individuals in their 30s and their 40s, and they're showing signs of dementia. So if you don't remember anything else that I taught y'all today, always remember that dementia is not a normal part of aging. Okay. So now we're talking about dementia with Lewy body. So a little bit about me. I've been a caregiver since I was 16, and dementia runs very heavily in my family. I've helped care for 4 different loved ones with 3 different types of dementia. I started with my 2 great aunts who had Alzheimer's, and then my Nana who had frontal temporal dementia. And I am still doing it now with my 91-year-old granddaddy who has dementia with Lewy bodies. And that is what we're going to talk about now. So dementia with Lewy bodies is a progressive form of dementia, and it's going to cause a decline in thinking, reasoning, their movement, behavior, as well as sleep and independent functioning. So dementia with Lewy bodies was named after the doctor who discovered it, Dr. Lewy. And the causes for dementia with Lewy bodies, for most cases, there really is no cause. That's unknown. However, for some cases, we're looking at an abnormal deposit of the protein alpha-synuclein. Okay, so with alpha-synuclein, it's when it misfolds, it becomes a Lewy body. So these deposits are going to create clumps inside your neurons, and it's going to cause them to work less effectively, and eventually they will die off. But that's a Lewy body in a nutshell. Okay. When we're looking at dementia with Lewy body, it's important to recognize that several regions of the brain is going to be impacted by this type of dementia. So for the age of diagnosis, we're looking at 50 years and older. For risk factors, we're looking at age, family history. Although you can have a family history with dementia with Lewy bodies, it's not necessarily considered a hereditary type of dementia. Some research shows that this type of dementia impacts men more than it does women. And there also shows that there are some genetic components when you're looking at dementia with Lewy bodies. And when they're looking at the genetic components, they're looking at the genetic markers for both Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. So for dementia with Lewy bodies and Parkinson's, it's important to note that they both fall under the term Lewy body dementia. Think about it. Parkinson's and dementia with Lewy bodies are cousins. It's just dementia with Lewy bodies is the more debilitating relative. Dementia with Lewy bodies actually is the more debilitating type of dementia overall. So when you're looking at dementia with Lewy body, a lot of times it's hard to diagnose this specific type of dementia because a lot of the symptoms tend to mirror Alzheimer's. Also, when we're looking at dementia with Lewy bodies, when we're talking about Parkinson's, because like I said, they both share the Lewy body. When you're looking at Parkinson's, Parkinson's is a progressive movement disorder that can potentially develop into dementia. However, I want to make it clear that not every single person that has a diagnosis of Parkinson's is going to develop a diagnosis of dementia. However, being diagnosed later in life with Parkinson's can increase your risk of developing dementia. So for dementia with Lewy bodies, when we're looking at signs and symptoms, you may notice memory loss, challenges with staying focused, or disorganized thoughts. We're talking about sleep issues such as REM sleep behavior disorder. So this is when an individual is going to act out whatever is going on in their dreams in their sleep. So if I'm fighting in my dream, I'm fighting in my sleep. If I'm falling in my dream, I am falling in my sleep.
Oh, wow.
If I'm walking in my dream, I am walking in my sleep. A lot of times with this disorder, individuals typically injure themselves significantly because it's a lot of movement going on in the sleep. So you may notice a person might break their arm, they could break a leg, can break a neck.
Sleepwalking.
From this type, like if you're falling or fighting in your sleep.
But it's not called sleepwalking.
It's just REM sleep behavior disorder. Sleepwalking can occur under it, but it doesn't always have to be sleepwalking.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah.
Okay. You may notice insomnia, restless leg syndrome, as well as excessive daytime sleepiness. When we're looking at behavior and mood, individuals will exhibit depression, as well as apathy, agitation, anxiety, paranoia, delusions, and visual hallucinations. You may notice issues with movement. So they may have slow movement, tremors, body rigidity, spontaneous changes in alertness and attention, as well as issues with swallowing and chewing. Their balance may be off. They may have a stooped posture or a weak voice. For your overall nervous system, you're going to notice issues with controlling your bladder or your bowels, issues with blood pressure and temperature regulation, feeling dizzy, fainting, and loss of smell. This will fall under an autonomic dysfunction. So your autonomic system will start to dysfunction with this type of dementia. Now we're going to talk about frontotemporal dementia. So this is a rare type of dementia, but it impacts your entire frontal and temporal regions of the brain. And these regions are responsible for personality, language, and behavior. This type of dementia is often misdiagnosed as Alzheimer's as well. Dementia with Lewy bodies, frontal temporal, most cases, a cause is unknown. However, genetics and family history can play a part. So when we're looking at frontal temporal dementia, it's important to understand that there's going to be a loss of neurons as well as an abnormal amount or forms of protein, tau, and TDP43. So when this happens, we're looking at a degeneration of the entire frontal lobe of the brain. So age of diagnosis typically happens between 45 and 60. However, it does occur in individuals 60 and younger, and it can develop in individuals in their 80s.
Oh, between 45 and 60 is something else.
I think everybody in the world will get dementia listening to this.
Not everyone.
Yeah.
Not everybody. So when we're looking at frontal temporal dementia, there are two types. So you have a behavioral variant. So this is going to be nerve cell loss as well as damage to the entire frontal lobe. And this is going to cause significant changes to an individual's overall personality and their behavior. So like I said before, my Nana had frontal temporal dementia, and this was the type that she had. So you're looking at this type, it's really more so impacting how an individual handles judgment, empathy, their overall level of conduct, and foresight. The second type is primary progressive aphasia, and that's going to be damage to the temporal lobe, which is responsible for language. So we're going to look at challenges with language, speaking, writing, and overall comprehension. So for risk factors, we're looking at age, family history, and genetics. For symptoms, they do present as symptoms with clusters. So you may notice inappropriate social behavior, lack of empathy, judgment, and inhibition, apathy, compulsive behaviors, decline in hygiene, changes in eating habits or wanting to put objects in the mouth, changes in language ability or loss of speech, inappropriate laughing or crying, movement issues such as tremors, issues with swallowing, falls, and issues with walking and poor coordination. So with FTD, it's important to note that it impacts everyone differently, and symptoms really do depend on the regions that have been impacted. And then the last type that I'll talk about is mixed dementia. And this happens when you have more than one type of dementia present at the same time. So you can have two or more, dementia-related brain changes, and that is going to impact different areas of the brain. The risk, if you have one form of dementia already present. Signs and symptoms are going to vary because it depends on the type of brain-related changes experienced as well as the area of the brain impacted. So a person may have Alzheimer's and vascular dementia. They could have dementia with Lewy bodies and Alzheimer's. They can have frontal temporal dementia and Alzheimer's. Anytime more than one type of dementia is present, it's going to always be mixed dementia. For prevention and treatment. For Alzheimer's, for treatment, there's currently no cure. However, you can take medication and have interventions that can assist with managing your symptoms. I tell people all the time, the earlier you get a diagnosis and the earlier you get a diagnosis that tells you the type of dementia you are working with, the earlier you can put plans in place for long-term care, as well as the earlier you can put plans in place for appropriate intervention. Okay. For prevention for Alzheimer's, you want to maintain a healthy lifestyle. So this is going to look like a healthy diet. We're moving our bodies. We're not smoking. We're socially active, whether it's in person, it's on Zoom, whatever. As long as you're still connecting to others, you're doing okay in my book. Getting enough sleep, managing your stress, as well as keeping your brain active. So like doing brain games such as word searches, crossword puzzles. If you are a creative person and you like to draw, you like to paint or crochet or knit, make music, Those things keep your brain active, such as learning a new language. All of those things keep your brain active and can prevent and lower your risk of developing Alzheimer's.
And you know what? That's probably what's helping Miss Knight, who's 90, who just turned 99, because she reads the Washington Post every day and she does puzzles.
See? Keeping. There are things you can do, right? When we're looking at vascular dementia, again, there's no cure, but you can treat it by managing your health conditions and your risk factors. So for prevention, you want to make sure we're practicing heart and brain health. So all the time, you hear people say, keep the heart healthy. I'm here to tell you to keep both the heart and brain healthy.
Yeah, that's good.
Do both, just to be on the safe side. We want to do both. You want to make sure you're doing lifestyle modifications. So this can look like eating a balanced and healthy diet, moving our bodies, not smoking, getting adequate and appropriate sleep, and managing your stress. For dementia with Lewy bodies and frontal temporal, we want to make sure we understand that there is no cure and there is no prevention for dementia with Lewy bodies. Now, medication and interventions are used to manage symptoms, but there's no cure and there's no prevention. So there can be OT, PT, and speech therapy, as well as mental health providers when we're talking about interventions that can help manage symptoms, as well as environmental modifications, right? For frontal temporal, same thing. There's no cure as well as no prevention, but medication and speech therapy can also help manage symptoms. And when we're talking about medication, we're looking at antidepressants and antipsychotics, which can be used to help manage behavioral and mood symptoms. For mixed dementia, there's no cure. But for treatment, we're looking at lifestyle modifications, medications, and interventions to help manage symptoms depending on what's present. And for prevention, we want to manage our risk factors, again, depending on what is present, and maintaining a healthy lifestyle and practicing overall brain and heart health. For diagnosis, if you're looking at Alzheimer's, you can get a medical history and physical exam, as well as blood work, because we're looking at biomarkers when we're testing for plaques and tangles, brain imaging, and cognitive and neurological exams. For vascular dementia, same thing. We're looking at medical history and physical exams. And we're doing the medical history and physical exam. We want to go through your entire family history, right? So you know exactly what's there, what's present, and what you're working with. Again, we're looking at lab work because this can help check for levels such as like cholesterol and things of that nature. We're looking at neurological exams, brain imaging, and neuropsychological exams because we're assessing for overall cognitive functioning, as well as because, again, we're looking at your ability to problem solve, you working with numbers, how you speak, how you write, and how you understand language overall. Dementia with Lewy bodies, medical history, physical exam, neurological testing. We're doing brain imaging, blood work. You can also get cerebral spinal fluid testing done, as well as neuropsychological exams and sleep studies. Sleep studies can happen with dementia with Lewy bodies. Frontal temporal diagnosis for this one can be a little trickier, only because a lot of these symptoms can overlap with other conditions. But we're looking at medical history, physical exams, blood work, sleep studies, neuropsychological exams, and brain imaging. For mixed dementia, diagnosis can be challenging. However, a medical history and physical exam will be helpful, brain imaging, and neuropsychological testing. Alrighty. Any questions, comments for me? I know I gave y'all a lot of information.
That was a lot. I want to say that I was diagnosed in 2019 with Parkinson's. And I have nobody in my family have it. My mom passed at 102 with a sound mind, do everything, eat, feed herself. We just have to help her with her bath. But I used to wake up in the night and dreaming that I'm being chased in the forest. And I would get out the bed and run and didn't know I was running. I have a bed with 4 big posts. I run into one of the posts at the foot of the bed a couple times and hit my chest. And one time I fell out the bed and broke the nightstand. I'm laughing about it now, but my brother said, "Why do you keep breaking this thing?" Because my judgment, I wasn't sure how close I was to the edge of the bed.
Right.
I would get out the bed and run and didn't know I was really running in, like I'm dreaming. But after I got the diagnosis, I didn't do that anymore. Now I don't run anymore, and I get about 6 to 8 hours of sleep.
That's good.
That's good.
Yeah, but my balance is bad, and I have tremor on the left side.
Oh,
So
wow.
if you call my name, I can't turn around suddenly. I have to take my time and turn.
Oh, wow.
I'm trying to adjust. It's very difficult to get dressed because, like, you want to look good with your earrings in, and you put the earring in, and the other hand knock it out.
Right.
So you keep repeating it until it works. So if I go to church, when I go to church on Sundays, which I usually go every Sunday, I start off from 6 o'clock in the morning because they pick me up at 8:30.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you give yourself extra time to do what you
Yeah,
have to do.
I when I'm alone, like this morning, I'm alone, but I need to take a shower, and so I make sure I don't lock up all the doors
Right.
in case, and I put my phone nearby, and I have a chair, so I know that I'm going in there, and I'm trusting, holding on to things to get out, but I just have to adjust myself because I can't be with 24 hours somebody with me all the time.
Right.
You
And
know.
it sounds like you have a good routine, which is very helpful for
Yeah.
individuals with Parkinson's as well as individuals with dementia, because routines are going to be very important.
Yes.
Well, Louise,
Uh-huh.
you said that once they gave you the diagnosis, you didn't have this running in your sleep anymore. It just stopped.
Well, did get a few dreams, but I didn't get up and run anymore because I was on, when they gave me the diagnosis, they gave me the medication.
That's what I wanted to ask you. Did they
Yes.
give you medication?
Yes, they gave me
Okay.
three different ones, and they didn't work. And the fourth one works, and I'm still taking it, Maripex. That one still works, but I still have the tremors. But I don't jump up and run out the bed like I was in the night.
Yeah, because the medication. So the
Yeah.
medication really did help you, the fourth one.
Yes, I'm taking that one now, 3 times a day.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, that's good. That's positive news.
Yes, and I try to cook when I can. If I feel like eating something different, I will cook, or if I get mom's meal sometimes. But I have to adjust myself. I notice that I talk slower than I used to. And I know I cannot turn suddenly.
Right.
I have to take my time. And I used to use a walker, but then I don't use it anymore. I try to walk without it.
You're a
So
very
you don't
strong
use any
person,
assistive
Kane.
devices?
Do you walk with a cane?
You-
I used to use a cane too, but I try to do without it. If I know I feel shaky, I'll use it.
Got it.
But when I go to church, I get help getting out the car, but I walk with somebody. I can walk without, but it's really slow. Your gaits are kind of slow, and you don't want to trip over your feet. I can't wear high heels anymore. I just have to wear flat things. And you know what you can do and adjust yourself.
Amen. You're a strong person, though. You're very strong, Louise.
Yeah. And I like to be around people. I like to come to the classes or have family members come over.
Yeah. So it sounds like you have a really good routine, Miss.
Yes, she does.
Yeah.
Hi, Giovanni.
Hi.
Hi. My son wants to know will this condition cause death?
So yes, you do have individuals.
Can you explain why?
So
when
when you're
it's a
looking,
brain problem,
so when you're
please.
looking at dementia and the different types, right? Like I said, it is a progressive disease, and it eventually does strip you away of your ability to fully function. So you will lose ability to communicate. You can lose ability to feed yourself. You'll lose ability to move. So some individuals will be nonverbal, non-mobile, and your ability to eat is going to change because you will start to have issues with swallowing because your brain is no longer sending those signals to do those things. However, depending on other health conditions that you may have, those could also cause death before your diagnosis of dementia or the different types.
Okay.
So it really just depends on each person. Each person's journey with
different.
Dementia is very different, right? Like you can see one person with Alzheimer's and they may be in one stage and another person is in a totally different stage. It really just depends on each individual. Just like I tell people all the time, dementia is a lot like a heart attack and a stroke. Those three things never just pop up out of anywhere. There were always signs and symptoms that were present. It's just those signs and symptoms might have been very subtle that you didn't recognize them.
Okay, thank you.
You are very welcome. For information on services that DACL offers, or if you want to make referrals and things of that nature, you can call our information and referral line at 202-724-5626. For allegations or suspected allegations of abuse, neglect, self-neglect, financial exploitation, you can contact our Adult Protective Services hotline at 202-541-3950. And I'll leave this slide up for a little bit in case anybody wants to write those numbers down. And I see a hand. Miss Ann?
Giovanna, again, thank you for your wonderful presentation today. Thank you for going over the different types. It was very helpful.
You are very welcome.
It was
very helpful. Make sure y'all review that the video on our YouTube.
Hello.
Yes,
Hello.
hi, Ann. You had a question for Giovanna today, Ann?
Yeah, I do. So maybe it's not dementia. I have a problem of reading a book, and I can, if you tell me to tell you what the book is, I can tell you. So is that early dementia? I'm not quite 70 yet. So sometimes I'm concerned. Why do I read this book? I cannot tell somebody else what the book is all about.
So it could be an issue with retention, but I would say if it's something that's happening frequently and it's of significant concern for you, I would talk it through with your doctor just to see what is going on, because a lot of things can mimic and mirror dementia, but it doesn't always have to be dementia.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You are very welcome. Then this is my contact information, as well as my supervisor's information and our clinical services officer, her information as well at DACL, if anyone is interested in having it.
Oh, Latanya was so great last month.
Oh, yeah, for the scams.
Yes, I love y'all as a team. Any other questions or comments for Giovanna? But again, I hope you were inspired today to help someone or help yourself with the information that went over today. But also, not to be prepared for anything, but it's always good to just be aware of what may be going on in our community. Yeah. So we appreciate you sharing, Giovanna.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. That was great,
Giovanni.
You are welcome.
Thank you. That was a great topic.
Mr. Adams, you had a last question or comment for us? I see you have your hands raised. If you have a last question or comment, let us know.
No, I just wanted to say thank you, and I've learned a lot that I didn't understand because my doctor mother had it, and I had to stop working, and I had to have other people come in when I did go to work to keep an eye on her so she wouldn't run out the house and try to cook and stuff like that.
Right.
But I came home from work one day and the fire engine was out front and the house was smoking and stuff because she forgot to, was cooking. But fortunately, it was just, contained to the stove.
Wow.
So, it's given me a lot to think about and to, look forward, at and looking at myself more often to make sure that I'm not getting it or whatever the case may be.
And I hope this was helpful and beneficial for you all. So that way, if you start to recognize signs or symptoms within yourself or your loved ones, your family members, your neighbors, your friends at church, things of that nature, you know how to spot signs and symptoms and start to kind of have conversations. But I also hope that the presentation kind of helped take away some level of discomfort or anxiety or fear around the topic, because I know dementia is a scary topic for some people because it's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of unknown with dementia, but my main role and goal is to kind of help take away at least one piece of fear, discomfort, or anxiety. So if I did that, I did my job.
There you go.
Yeah. You're doing your job, that's for sure.
Why, thank you. I tried.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's all say thank you to Giovanna for a
Thank
wonderful
you. That
session
was
today.
Very much.
Thank you,
Thank you, Miss
Good to see you.
Giovanna.
Thank
I'll be
you.
back next month.
Informative.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a great
Good to
I
hear
will
it,
be
man.
back
Next month.
next month.
We'll
Hey,
see you
So
in
I
May,
will see you
Giovanna.
all in May.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
We just had to
Giovanna.
unmute.
you.
Great session today. Thank you,
Yeah.
Giovanna.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate you.
Look forward to your next visit. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right.